Sterling Vale's first conscious breath came with a jolt of pain. A searing brightness assaulted his vision as he groaned, rolling his head slowly on the smooth, unfamiliar surface beneath him. His limbs felt like lead weights, and every joint throbbed with an ache that screamed of prolonged stasis. His mouth was dry, desert dry, and his tongue thick and uncooperative. The ceiling above him shimmered with a low ambient glow, etched with soft pulsing hexagonal patterns. Not a hospital. Not military. Not home. His voice cracked as he croaked. Where the hell? A shape moved beside him, graceful and deliberate. A face leaned into view, heart-shaped, intelligent, and wholly alien. Her fur was a vibrant orange, short and velvety, catching the ambient light in golden tones. Upright ears twitched slightly atop her head, and a thick tail curled behind her. But it was her eyes, deep amber with slit pupils, that held him. Easy, she said, her voice smooth like silk over ice. You've been unconscious for a very long time. Sterling blinked, his brain catching up with her words. How long? Her ears twitched again. 21 years. He blinked rapidly, tried to rise, but her hand, a paw, really, with 5 dexterous, padded fingers, pressed gently against his chest. Don't. Your muscles were maintained, but you're still adjusting. Sterling stared, caught between disbelief and something far more primal. You're not human. The vulpine girl tilted her head with a small smile. No. I'm Kalari Vess, medical caretaker aboard the star station Elindra's Grace. You were recovered in cryostasis, from a vessel named the Solaris Dawn. The name hit him like a brick. The mission. The experiment. The impossible jump. No, he muttered. We couldn't have made it. That drive, it malfunctioned. We never came back. Kalari's eyes softened. You didn't. Until 3 weeks ago. Sterling's breath came in shallow gulps. What happened to my crew? Kalari's hand lingered on his chest a moment longer, then withdrew slowly. There were no other survivors. The Solaris Dawn was drifting, systems failing. You were the only one in a functioning pod. He clenched his jaw, memories flickering like shattered glass, voices over comms, alarms, light bending in impossible ways. We weren't supposed to test it yet. The FTL array, it overloaded during calibration. You activated it, Kalari said softly, folding her arms across her chest. And vanished from all known coordinates. Earth presumed the mission lost. He stared at the sleek ceiling again. I had a brother. Caleb. My parents. Are they? Communications have been established, she said gently. They'll reach out when you're ready. Your brother is alive. A swell of emotion clutched his chest. 21 years. Caleb would be nearly 50 now. Kalari stepped away, her movements as smooth as they were graceful. The curve of her tail flicked behind her, a subconscious signal he couldn't decode. You'll need physical therapy, cognitive evaluation, and neural scans. Sterling sat up slowly, pain blooming in every muscle. So I'm a science project now? She turned, her eyes narrowing slightly. You're a miracle, Sterling Vale. You reappeared with a ship no one believed could survive. You're alive when no one should be. Her tone wasn't cold. It was laced with reverence, curiosity, and something else. Something he couldn't name. I'm not sure I want to know what I missed, he muttered. You should, Kalari said. The galaxy isn't the one you left behind. Earth is now part of the Concordance, an alliance of 17 species. He stared. First contact happened 12 years ago, she continued. And Earth joined the club. Sterling couldn't breathe. First contact. And he'd slept through it. Sterling leaned back against the padded frame of the med bed, his gaze fixed on the viewport across the room. Beyond its crystalline panes stretched the vast blue curve of Earth, unfamiliar yet achingly familiar, fringed with orbital structures and slow-moving satellite clusters that hadn't existed in his time. First contact, he whispered. We always dreamed of it, ran simulations. But we were never ready. Kalari walked to the wall panel, her claw-tipped fingers dancing over an interface that shimmered to life under her touch. No one's ever ready, she replied. But your people adapted quickly, faster than most expected. You brought ambition and ingenuity. That's why the Concordance took interest. Sterling narrowed his eyes. And what about the Solaris Dawn? My ship, where is it? Kalari hesitated. Secure hangar. Orbital deck 4. The Concordance Council had it quarantined the moment it appeared. There are anomalies in its structure. Your propulsion systems were altered. Altered how? Etchings. Patterns scorched into the hull. Languages we don't recognize. Your FTL drive doesn't match any blueprint in Earth's registry, or even alien tech we've encountered. You may have brought something back. Sterling rubbed his temples, haunted. I don't remember. After the jump, it's just flashes. Screams. Darkness. Like something was in the ship with us. Kalari moved to his side, her orange fur catching the light, casting golden glints across her cheekbones. The Council wants answers. Earth's military wants control. But they can't access your ship without you. So I'm leverage. Her eyes met his. You're more than that. He studied her, uncertain. Why are you helping me? Kalari's ears tilted slightly, a gesture he'd come to learn meant hesitation. Because I was the one who scanned your stasis pod. I was the one who found the neural signals still active. I requested to be your caretaker. He raised an eyebrow. Why? Her voice softened. Because something in your readings resonated. I had to know what you were. Sterling's heart pounded. What do you mean, resonated? Kalari looked momentarily caught off guard. Your brain activity during cryostasis was not normal. Not decaying, not stagnant. Evolving. Evolving? He echoed. She nodded slowly. We recorded low-level neural activity that matched no human baseline. You were adapting to something while unconscious. That's not supposed to happen. Sterling stared at the floor. There was a moment, right before we jumped. I remember seeing stars shift. Like they weren't fixed. Like space folded wrong. He looked up, meeting her amber gaze. Then I heard something in my head. Not a voice. A presence. Kalari stepped closer. Did it speak? He hesitated. No. It felt. Watched. Judged. Her ears flicked. You might have made contact with something outside known dimensional space. Sterling scoffed, more to shield his anxiety than out of disbelief. So I got abducted by a god? Kalari's tail swished behind her. Not a god. Something ancient. Maybe even older than time as we understand it. Some believe there are beings that dwell in the void between dimensions. Sterling felt his breath catch. And you think we jumped into their neighborhood? Kalari nodded solemnly. He dropped his gaze to his trembling hands. And now I'm carrying some part of it in my head. She crouched beside him, her slender hand resting gently over his. The heat of her touch surprised him, warmer than human skin, almost electric. You are not alone, she said, voice low and steady. Whatever's inside you, it hasn't changed who you are. I've monitored you since waking. You're still human. He met her gaze. And if I'm not? Kalari's claws flexed slightly before retracting. Then we face that together. He swallowed hard. That's a lot of faith in someone you barely know. Her smile was small, sad, but real. I've been watching you sleep for almost 5 years. I know more about you than you think. Later that day, Sterling stood upright for the first time in over 2 decades. His legs trembled beneath him, but Kalari stood at his side, offering subtle support with a hand beneath his elbow and her bushy tail wrapped around the back of his calves like a stabilizer. You're adjusting quickly, she said, voice tinged with admiration. I was military. Kind of. He winced, flexing his stiff knees. The Solaris Dawn was listed as a scientific expedition, but we both know most things on the edge of innovation have dual purposes. Kalari's ears perked. Then you won't be surprised to hear that Earth's Unified Sector Command wants a word. Sterling's stomach sank. Of course they do. The door chimed. Kalari glanced at him, her tone suddenly formal. I'll be in the next room if you need anything. He nodded, his gratitude wordless, and turned as the door hissed open. 2 figures entered. One older, sharp-eyed and silver-haired in a pressed navy uniform, the other younger, lean, with the cold intensity of a man who trafficked in secrets. Captain Sterling Vale? The older man asked, extending a hand. Sterling shook it warily. I guess I'm still a captain. Technically. I'm Director Langston of Earth Unified Command. This is Colonel Viral, Special Intelligence Division. Viral nodded once, silent. Langston gestured to the small table in the room. May we? Sure. Let's cut the formalities. You want to know what happened to the Solaris Dawn? Langston's smile was thin. And what you brought back? Sterling sighed, lowering himself into a chair. The truth is, I don't know. My memories are fractured. Like a dream half remembered through static. That's not what the Azurian scans suggest, Viral said coolly, placing a small device on the table that began to hum faintly. Privacy field, he added. Of course, Sterling muttered. Wouldn't want anyone else hearing what the time-traveling science zombie has to say. Langston leaned forward, folding his hands. We know your ship's systems were altered. Your stasis pod protected you, but not just physically. We believe your brain absorbed something other. Sterling glanced toward the adjoining room. He could sense Kalari's presence beyond the door, a silent anchor. And if I say no? He asked. Langston's smile didn't reach his eyes. Then we'll have to take more direct measures. Sterling's jaw tightened. So that's it? Wake me up, patch me together, then threaten to dissect me? Langston raised a hand. No one is threatening you. But understand, this is bigger than you. The Solaris Dawn vanished testing an illegal FTL prototype. Now it's back, and you're the only one who can explain what happened. Sterling leaned back in the chair. I'm not your lab rat. And whatever's in my head, I'm not sure it can even be explained. Some things don't fit into neat mission reports. Viral's eyes gleamed. We disagree. Our research teams believe your suppressed memories contain exposure to a foreign data stream. Something more than just spatial coordinates, something sentient. Sterling blinked. You think I talked to it? Langston nodded slowly. We think it talked to you. A long silence followed. Finally, Sterling exhaled. Then you understand why I can't just let you pull it out. You don't know what you're playing with. The 2 officers exchanged glances. Viral tapped his fingers on the table. We're giving you 24 hours. After that, we'll request emergency transfer authorization. To Earth? Sterling asked, a hint of dread in his voice. Langston stood. To a secure containment facility. As the door hissed shut behind them, Kalari slipped back in, her expression taut with concern. Your vitals spiked. They're trying to lock me down, he said. Treat me like a ticking bomb. She moved close, folding her arms tightly. You are changed, Sterling. The scans show neural lattice structures evolving beyond human norms. But they don't understand what it means. Neither do I. Not yet. He looked into her eyes, searching for judgment, finding only resolve. I need time, he said. Kalari nodded. Then we'll buy it. She turned to a small console and began tapping furiously. There's a compound. Neural inhibitor short-term. It will scramble your memory recall pathways, make any interrogation fuzzy. Sterling smirked weakly. So now we drug me into amnesia? She arched a brow. It has side effects. Of course it does. Elevated temperature. Heightened emotional sensitivity. Possible arousal. Sterling paused. Then grinned. You're serious? Kalari's fur bristled slightly along her arms. I'll be monitoring you closely. For medical reasons. Sterling stepped closer, voice low. Sure. Medical. The lights in Sterling's quarters dimmed to a soft orange glow as Kalari handed him a small vial containing a silvery liquid. He held it up, watching it swirl like quicksilver. "You're sure this won't fry my brain?" he asked. Kalari's ears twitched, amused. "I synthesized it myself. You'll be disoriented, maybe flushed. But your memories will remain intact, just inaccessible for a time." Sterling looked at her, the soft stripes across her cheeks glowing faintly in the low light. "And this'll buy us time?" Kalari's voice dropped to a whisper. "It'll buy you privacy. Maybe not forever, but enough to decide what comes next." He downed the vial in one motion. Warmth flooded through his chest almost instantly. A heavy thrum settled behind his eyes, not painful, but intimate, like being wrapped in a memory he couldn't quite recall. Kalari moved toward him, scanning his vitals with a wrist-mounted device. "Your body's responding well." "Yeah," he murmured, swaying slightly. "That sensation. Like my nerves are humming." She steadied him, her hands sliding around his waist with a tenderness that made his heart race faster than the drug. "That's normal." Their eyes met. "I don't know what's happening to me," he admitted, "but I know I feel safer when you're here." Kalari's expression softened, her ears lowering. "I didn't expect this," she confessed. "I wanted to study you, observe, but then I saw you. And you weren't just a mystery. You were alive. Lost. Human." Sterling cupped her cheek gently, fingers brushing the edges of the tattoo-like symbol on her forehead. "What does this mark mean?" "It's my lineage. The House of Ves. It also means I'm unbonded." "Unbonded?" Kalari smiled faintly. "It means, no mate." The silence between them deepened, charged with 1,000 unsaid thoughts. Then she leaned in, her fur brushing his skin, warm and soft. Their lips met. It was hesitant at first, a question, then an answer. Her mouth was hotter than he expected. Like she ran on fire instead of blood. When her fingers tangled in his hair and his arms wrapped around her waist, the kiss deepened into something hungry, something primal. Whatever was coming tomorrow, tonight there was only this. Only her. Only now. The sheets clung to their bodies, damp with heat and breath and everything unsaid. Sterling lay on his back, Kalari's head nestled against his chest, her orange fur rising and falling with his breath. The glowing pattern on her back, a swirling series of concentric rings, pulsed gently in the dark, like a slow heartbeat. He ran his hand down her spine, fingers tracing the warmth of her bare skin where fur thinned along her shoulders. "I didn't know alien anatomy could feel so familiar," Kalari purred softly. "You're not the first human to say that." She tilted her head up, amber eyes half-lidded. "But I'm the first Ves to bond across species lines. It's discouraged." "Because I'm human?" he asked. "Because I'm a healer. A scientist." "I wasn't supposed to fall into bed with the subject of a classified recovery mission." Sterling chuckled. "To be fair, I didn't exactly plan on waking up and seducing a fox goddess in space." Kalari rolled her eyes playfully and propped herself up on her elbows. "I'm not a goddess. You glow in the dark," he countered, brushing a finger along her hip where bioluminescent threads shimmered faintly. "That's cheating." Her expression turned serious. "You're changing, Sterling. Not just physiologically. You feel it too, don't you?" He hesitated. "Yeah. Dreams. Visions. It's like there's something behind my thoughts, waiting. Watching." Kalari's ears twitched. "The entity didn't just mark your ship. It marked you. You think it's still inside me?" "I think part of it never left," she said. "And now that you're conscious, it's waking up." Sterling sat up, the remnants of warmth fading as the weight of their reality returned. "I don't know how to fight something I can't see." Kalari reached out, taking his hand. "Then don't fight it alone." Before he could respond, the lights snapped to alert mode, flashing blue. A robotic voice echoed from the wall panel. "Security teams mobilized. Unauthorized access detected in medical archives." Intrusion traced to containment deck 4. Kalari's eyes widened. That's where they're holding the Solaris Dawn. Sterling was already climbing into his clothes. Someone's making a move. Kalari grabbed her uniform from the floor and armed her wrist console. Then so are we. The corridors of Elinder's Grace were bathed in urgent blue light as klaxons pulsed low and steady. Sterling and Kalari moved quickly, cutting through a maintenance access route she knew from memory. Every step echoed with a growing sense of unease. You sure this path bypasses security? He asked, breath short. Kalari glanced back, her vulpine features tense. It was designed for biohazard containment emergencies. No one monitors it during alerts, too close to the antimatter core. Sterling let out a dry laugh. Convenient. They emerged into a narrow corridor just above Dock 4. Through a security window, Sterling spotted it, his ship. The Solaris Dawn sat like a dead god among tombstones. The hull still bore Earth's signature aerospace structure, but it had been warped, almost melted in places, and reformed with asymmetrical plating, like something had reassembled it from memory. Sterling stopped in his tracks. That's not how she looked when we launched. Kalari pressed a palm to the reinforced glass. The hull markings, they're moving. He squinted. They weren't before? She shook her head. They were scorched patterns. Now they're shifting, reconfiguring. Like the ship is alive. Sterling didn't know what unsettled him more, the implications of that, or the fact that some part of him wasn't surprised. Access hatch here, Kalari said, opening a side panel. Manual override. We can get inside before the response team closes the dock. They descended into the bay through a steel catwalk and slipped toward the ship's lowered gangway. Kalari typed in Sterling's old biometric code. To his shock, the panel accepted it with a low hum. Welcome aboard, said a voice from the speaker, one he hadn't heard in over 20 years. Rogue? He asked. You still operational? Operational status, compromised. Power at 27%. Integrity, inconsistent. Sterling stepped inside. The air was cold, metallic, laced with something older. The lights flickered as they activated, casting strange shadows along the curved walls. Kalari followed, eyes wide. It smells wrong, she said softly. Sterling moved deeper into the corridor. It's not just smell. It's the pressure. Like the air's heavier in here. Something remembers us, Kalari murmured. Something that shouldn't. The deeper they went, the more Solaris Dawn felt like a mausoleum. Bulkheads creaked without motion. Lights flickered and died behind them, as if recoiling from their presence. Sterling paused before the door to the bridge. I left people in here, he murmured. Friends. Scientists. My crew. Kalari stepped beside him, her hand lightly brushing his. They're gone, Sterling. But whatever did this, isn't. He swallowed, then tapped the manual release. The door opened with a groan, revealing the bridge as it had been frozen in time. Desks, chairs, scattered datapads. A mug still sat on the NAV console, long emptied and stained. But the worst was the silence, total, heavy, and waiting. Sterling moved toward the pilot's seat, touching the console. Row, he said louder this time. Access last navigation logs. The holoscreen flickered to life, displaying a series of spatial coordinates, and something else. These aren't coordinates, Kalari breathed, leaning in. They're phase harmonics. Like a resonance pattern. Dimensional frequency markers. Sterling frowned. You mean, like a musical signature for space? Kalari nodded. Each universe vibrates at a unique frequency. The drive didn't just jump space. It tuned reality. That's how you crossed. Sterling felt a rush of memory. Distorted stars, warped voids, something vast pressing against the hull. And these frequencies, he said slowly, are they from our universe? No, Kalari whispered. None of them match. You went somewhere else. Just then, the console shifted on its own. A new log appeared, unlabeled. It was a visual file. Sterling hesitated, then tapped it. The image showed the Solaris Dawn's interior, overlaid with unknown glyphs. In the corner, the crew, his crew, stood motionless, faces blank, eyes glowing faintly with alien light. Kalari gasped. They weren't dead. They were changed. The file cut out abruptly. Then a low, vibrating sound rose from the floor. The ship trembled, no alarms, just an unnatural hum. Row! Sterling barked. What is that? Contact detected, the AI said, voice breaking with static. External dimensional proximity increasing. The pattern has returned. Kalari's claws extended instinctively. It's here. It followed you. No, Sterling whispered. It never left. The ship's hum deepened to a bone-shaking rumble. Sterling gripped the console as the floor quivered beneath him, like the Solaris Dawn was remembering something it had no right to remember. Kalari's fur bristled all over her body. Her amber eyes locked onto Sterling's. It's breaching. He turned to her. The entity? She nodded once. Whatever dimension you touched, whatever you brought back, it's trying to make contact again. Through you. Through this ship. Sterling staggered back as a wave of dizziness hit him. His vision warped at the edges, twisting the bridge into unfamiliar shapes. The walls bent, just slightly, like a mirage of pressure against space. Row! He shouted, struggling to stay upright. Emergency lockdown. Shut it down! Unable to comply, the AI responded. Systems responding to non-native command structures. External interference exceeds security protocols. Kalari grabbed him, her strong vulpine arms grounding him with a sudden embrace. Sterling, listen. You have to push back. It's inside your head. That's how it's breaching. His pulse pounded. In the back of his mind, something vast stirred. No voice. No images. Just awareness. Cold. Ancient. Curious. Sterling's knees buckled. Kalari eased him to the floor, kneeling beside him. Focus on my voice, she urged. Don't let it pull you under. He closed his eyes. Images surged, the twisted stars, the faces of his crew mutating into something inhuman, the glyphs burning into metal, into flesh. And a shape behind it all, amorphous, watching. Kalari touched her forehead to his, her voice trembling. Sterling! Come back! He gasped, lurching forward, sweat streaming down his face. The pressure lifted just enough for him to breathe. It's not just in the ship, he croaked. It's in me. Kalari steadied him, her eyes wild with fear. Then we need to get you out. Now. But the ship groaned again, this time, not from systems failing. From something waking up. Emergency lights pulsed red through the corridors of the Solaris Dawn as the bulkhead shuddered with deep, resonant tremors. The ship groaned like it was under pressure from the inside out, as if reality itself strained to hold it together. Kalari had Sterling's arms slung over her shoulder, her vulpine muscles stronger than they appeared. Hang on, she muttered. Just a little farther. They half stumbled, half ran through the flickering corridor, back toward the manual hatch they'd entered through. Behind them, the hallway warped. Not figuratively, literally. The walls began to pulse, bulge, twist like something was pressing against them from another layer of existence. Sterling looked over his shoulder, eyes wide. It's breaching through the ship itself. Kalari growled low in her throat. It's trying to anchor here. To make this place, this world, a door. Because of me, he said bitterly. No, she snapped. Because it sensed a crack. You're not the weakness. You're just the key. They burst into the docking bay just as the emergency seals began to lower. From the upper catwalk, a team of black-armored soldiers appeared, weapons trained on them. The lead officer's voice barked through a helmet speaker. Stand down. Step away from the vessel. Kalari's ears pinned flat against her skull. Sterling, let me do the talking. He nodded, breathing heavily. His vision swam with flickers of alien symbols every time he blinked. A flash of white appeared on the far side of the bay, a swirling ripple in the air, like heat distortion but black. It was small. Then it wasn't. The soldiers didn't see it at first. Kalari did. Oh no. Sterling saw it next, a rip in space itself, vertical, thin as a hair, stretching wide. Within, there was no light. Only the wrongness of something infinite. Then came the scream, not sound, but feeling. A soundless wail that scraped through the mind, not the ears. One of the soldiers dropped his weapon and collapsed, clutching his head. The rift pulsed. The creature was almost through. Sterling staggered as the mental pressure slammed into him like a tidal wave of static. His thoughts splintered, images crashing into his mind, alien cities built on physics he couldn't comprehend, massive eyes that weren't eyes, cold landscapes with no stars above them. Kalari grabbed his face between her hands, forcing him to look at her. Sterling! Focus on me! Her voice cut through the storm like a blade. He locked onto her amber eyes, glowing, furious, desperate. Her orange fur bristled, and her fangs showed as she bared her teeth at the invisible force pouring into the hangar. Behind them, the soldiers finally saw it. Weapons were raised, but no one fired. One by one they froze, unable to comprehend what was leaking from the widening rift. Sterling gritted his teeth. We can't stop it with guns. No, Kalari said, tail flicking. But we can shut the door. The rift reached the height of the hangar. Energy crackled along the floor, warping metal, snapping power lines. The Solaris Dawn pulsed with resonance, responding like it remembered the frequency. The entity was calling it back. It's using the ship as a beacon, Kalari realized aloud. We have to sever its connection. Sterling stumbled toward the ship's boarding ramp, Kalari supporting him. Row, he gasped. I need emergency protocol Primus 0. Full drive containment. Warning. The AI responded, voice shredded with digital distortion. Protocol Primus 0 will initiate collapse of internal dimensional field. Core integrity will fail. Vessel will be destroyed. I know, Sterling said, slapping a control panel. Do it anyway. Kalari stared at him. You'll kill yourself. I'll kill the breach. That thing doesn't get to anchor here. Not through me. She grabbed his arm. Then I'm not letting you do it alone. No, Kalari. She growled. Soul-threading, remember? I meant it. We end this together. The ramp lifted. The ship sealed. As the rift howled behind them and reality began to tear, the Solaris Dawn groaned one last time, then charged its dying heart. The Solaris Dawn lit from within, a deep violet glow pouring from every seam in its twisted hull. The symbols along the walls flared, no longer passive carvings but pulsing runes etched with purpose. They responded to something not physical. Something sentient. Sterling sat in the command chair, sweat streaking down his face, hands gripping the interface. Kalari stood behind him, one hand pressed to his shoulder, the other linked into the auxiliary port via her neural interface. Rose's fragmented voice filled the bridge. Core destabilization at 72%. Collapse field forming. Estimated time to total implosion, 2 minutes. Sterling's vision flickered again, stars, fractals, impossible geometries. He felt the entity's attention sharpen, like an ocean narrowing its gaze on a single drop. It knows, he whispered. It sees what we're doing. Kalari's fur stood on end as her muscles tensed. Good. Let it watch. The ship screamed as the containment field forced itself inward. The air shimmered. The rift outside began to quiver, its edges fracturing like glass beneath a blowtorch. Sterling felt the pressure building in his skull. It's still in me, trying to keep the link open. Kalari stepped in front of him, lowering herself to eye level. Then let me in. She pressed her forehead to his. Their minds touched. It wasn't smooth. It was fire, wind, ice, chaotic. Kalari's thoughts brushed against the alien echoes within him and recoiled, but she didn't let go. I've got you. Her voice echoed inside his head. Focus on me. Not it. The entity roared. No sound, no words, just raw force. A scream of a forgotten god. The rift began to close. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed as the collapsing field pulled reality inward like a plug in a cosmic drain. The ship shook violently. Bulkheads split. Consoles exploded. Core integrity at 9%. Ro wheezed. Sterling. Run. He didn't. He took Kalari's hand and activated the emergency evac sequence. A containment pod launched from the underside of the ship as the Solaris Dawn imploded in a flash of white light that left no shadow. The rift vanished. So did the ship. The escape pod hurtled away from the disintegrating docking bay, its systems struggling to compensate for the force of the implosion. Sterling and Kalari were thrown against the restraints, their hands still clasped, their breaths shallow in the dim, flickering light. Then, stillness. No hum. No alarms. Just silence and the faint crackle of static from the external sensors as the pod drifted through orbit. Sterling groaned, his vision blurry. You alive? Kalari coughed once and nodded, fur ruffled but intact. Barely. But yes. The viewport revealed what remained of the Alindra's Grace docking bay: twisted steel, flickering power nodes, and vacuum-sealed blast doors holding back what would have been complete decompression. The rift was gone. The stars beyond shone undisturbed. You did it, she whispered. Sterling let out a slow breath. No. We did it. Kalari turned toward him, her glowing eyes searching. And the entity? Cut off, maybe. Or sleeping again. But the Solaris Dawn is gone. That connection severed. A crackle from the comms interrupted them. This is Captain Dale from the Colonial Defense Frigate Obsidian Rain. We detected a Class 7 implosion and a rift collapse in your sector. Identify yourselves. Sterling tapped the console. Escape Pod 914, formerly of Alindra's Grace. This is Captain Sterling Vale and Specialist Kalari Vess. Request immediate pickup. There was a pause. Then the voice returned. Confirmed. Medical teams en route. You're lucky to be alive. Kalari leaned her head back, letting her eyes drift closed. We're more than lucky. Sterling turned to her, brushing a hand across her cheek. We're bonded now, aren't we? She opened one eye, a tired smile tugging at her lips. Soul-threaded. I warned you. The pod gently rocked as a larger ship approached, its docking clamps extending. As rescue teams pulled them aboard, Kalari clutched his hand and whispered in his ear. They'll want answers. From both of us. Sterling nodded, weary but certain. Then we'll give them the truth. Just, not all of it. Kalari's eyes sparkled. Good. Some truths belong only to those who survive them. And together they stepped from the pod into a world they'd just saved, forever changed, forever connected. The medical bay aboard the Obsidian Rain was brighter and colder than Sterling liked. Clean chrome walls, antiseptic scent, soft humming from machines that never slept. He lay on a diagnostic bed, wires clinging to his temples, chest, and wrists. Across the room, Kalari sat cross-legged on a recovery couch, her tail swaying slowly with controlled agitation. A holographic projection hovered in front of the lead medical officer, a tall woman with close-cropped hair and a voice like polished steel. Neurological scans show anomalies, she said, glancing between Sterling and Kalari. Both of you exhibit shared neural patterns. Deep entanglement. Highly irregular. It's called a bond, Kalari replied, her voice laced with defiance. Cultural practice among my kind. We share cognition during critical stress events. The officer raised an eyebrow. It borders on telepathic imprinting. Kalari didn't blink. It saved your ship. And your timeline. The officer turned to Sterling. And you, Captain Vale, your brain is different. Subtly. But it's there. We're detecting cognitive structures no baseline human has, synaptic bridges that shouldn't exist. Sterling met her gaze. You think I'm still connected to it? We think, she said carefully, that it may have left something behind. Kalari stood. Whatever it left, it didn't come through. The rift closed. The officer gave a small nod. That part checks out. Sensors confirmed the dimensional breach was sealed. Sterling slowly sat up. Then what happens to us now? We'll run more tests. The Council will want reports. EarthGov too. And the Concordance, well, they'll demand full disclosure. And if I refuse? Sterling asked. The officer was silent. Kalari crossed the room and stood beside him. They won't force you, she said low and sharp, because they don't understand what they're dealing with. Sterling looked between them, then at the blank wall where his reflection stared back, older than he remembered. Then I guess it's time I decide who I want to be now. 2 days later, Sterling stood in front of a panoramic viewport aboard the Obsidian Rain, watching the sunrise crest over the blue arc of Earth. The planet was beautiful, more advanced than he remembered, more crowded, more alien. Even from space, he could sense it wasn't the same world he left. Kalari joined him, her uniform pressed and sleeveless, letting her orange fur catch the ambient light. Her tail coiled lazily behind her as she approached, expression unreadable. You've been quiet, she said softly. Sterling nodded, arms folded. I've been trying to feel like myself again. Any luck? He gave a small smile. Not yet. I think part of me never came back from that place. Kalari leaned her shoulder gently against his. And part of you never left this one. You're not broken, Sterling. Just expanded. They stood in silence for a while, watching traffic lines of interstellar ships thread their way between orbital relays. The future had arrived while he slept, and it hadn't waited for him. Finally, Kalari broke the silence. There's talk in the Council. Rumors of other anomalies. Minor ones. Flares of energy matching the same dimensional pattern as the entity. On other worlds. Sterling's jaw tensed. You think it's still out there? I think it always was. The Solaris Dawn was just the first key. He turned toward her. Then they'll come for me again. For both of us. Kalari shrugged. Let them. We're not alone anymore. Footsteps echoed behind them. Commander Hessa, EarthGov liaison to the Concordance, approached, flanked by 2 guards. Captain Vale. Kalari Vess. He inclined his head politely, but his tone was stiff. Your requested planet side. The Concordance wants full testimony. Every detail. Sterling's eyes didn't leave the planet below. What if I refuse? Then EarthGov will detain you. Politely, of course. Hessa smiled without warmth. Kalari stepped forward, eyes narrowing. If he goes, I go. Oh, you're both invited, Hessa said smoothly. But I suggest cooperation. This entity, whatever it was, is now everyone's problem. Sterling exhaled slowly. Then let's make sure they understand what kind of problem they're dealing with. The Concordance Citadel on Earth was unlike anything Sterling remembered. Towering spires of white glass and obsidian metal reached into the clouds, built atop what had once been the ruins of old Geneva. The city pulsed with alien life, winged diplomats, crystalline emissaries, and bipedal forms from species Sterling couldn't name. Humanity had not just joined the galactic community, it had become one strand in a much larger web. Sterling and Kalari stood at the heart of the Citadel's Hall of Inquiry, a vast circular chamber surrounded by tiered seating, each section occupied by a different species delegate. The chamber's acoustics needed no speaker. The walls translated intent, emotion, and meaning as much as words. State your name and designation for the record, intoned a melodic voice from the center dais. The speaker was a being of shifting glass and smoke, Chair Ambassador Threll of the Orivani. Sterling Vale, he said. Former captain of the Earth vessel Solaris Dawn. Kalari Vess, she followed. Medical specialist, House Vess of Oryx Prime. Your vessel re-emerged after 2 decades lost, Threll said. It bore modifications no known species can explain. It initiated a dimensional breach. It nearly anchored an entity of unknown origin into our shared reality. Sterling's shoulders squared. And we stopped it. Because it was inside you, a chittering voice said from the HFY ambassador's chair. Kalari growled softly, but Sterling raised a hand to calm her. Yes, he said. It touched me. Reached into me. I carried part of it back. Murmurs rose from the chamber. Threll's form rippled. You claim the being is not malevolent. Yet it destroyed your crew. It didn't kill them, Sterling said slowly. It overwhelmed them. With knowledge. Data beyond our biology. It was curious. But it doesn't understand limits. Kalari stepped forward. It's not a predator. It's a storm. Ancient. Observant. And we cracked the sky. Sterling nodded. We triggered something we weren't ready for. But we closed the breach. Do you still carry its imprint? Threll asked. A silence fell. Sterling glanced at Kalari, then back at the council. I don't know. Maybe. Then the matter is unresolved, Threll said. You are both to be placed under observation. For the safety of all. Kalari's tail lashed. We're not prisoners. No, Threll said. You are now observers. Of what comes next. They were given quarters within the citadel, more luxurious than any human-built structure Sterling had known. But they were quarters all the same, a gilded cage, lined with surveillance fields and diplomatic etiquette. Kalari paced the room, tail flicking with restless energy. They say we're observers, but we both know what this is. Sterling sat by the arched window, staring out at the alien skyline. House arrest with a view. They're scared, she said, halting to face him. Not just of the entity, but of you. He didn't look away from the stars. Maybe they should be. Kalari crossed to him, crouching so they were eye level. Her fur glowed faintly in the low light, her orange warmth a sharp contrast to the sterile silver of the room. Don't say that. You saw what I did on that ship. What I survived. That kind of contact, it leaves marks. It left scars, she said. Not corruption. Sterling searched her face. What if it's still in me? What if that rift wasn't the end? Just the beginning? Kalari was quiet for a long moment. Then she leaned in and pressed her forehead to his. Then we face it together. They sat like that in silence until the walls pulsed, a soft tone indicating a message was waiting. Sterling rose, tapped the wall console. The screen flared to life. A familiar face appeared, Alex Reed, his younger brother, now decades older and one of Earth's leading colonial commanders. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed unease. Sterling. We've intercepted energy signatures on the outer edge of the Epsilon Netari system. They match the Solaris Dawn's last jump profile, and something else. Something bigger. Sterling's stomach dropped. We're preparing to deploy a reconnaissance fleet, but there's debate about your involvement. The Concordance wants you grounded. I disagree. The screen flickered. I'm sending coordinates to a private shuttle dock. No one else knows. The message ended. Kalari's ears perked. He's offering a way out. No, Sterling said. He's offering a choice. He turned to her. And I'm not going without you. Midnight over Citadel Geneva didn't look like night, it shimmered. Towering crystal spires reflected the orbital lights, casting silver webworks across the city. In the distance, Earth's clouds rolled below like silent oceans. Sterling and Kalari moved through the outer corridors of the Citadel's diplomatic quarter, cloaked in an illusion field Kalari had activated from her wrist console. This'll fool the external sensors for 6 minutes, she whispered. Maybe 7. Let's hope your family's tech is as good as their arrogance, Sterling muttered. Kalari smirked. Says the man carrying cosmic nightmares in his head. They slipped through a private hangar gate just as a maintenance drone passed overhead. The shuttle Alex had promised waited in the shadow of a refueling crane, sleek, black, and unmarked. A voice greeted them as they approached. "Wasn't sure you'd come," said Alex Reed, stepping down from the loading ramp, his coat fluttering with the movement. "Still not sure I believe this whole dimensional horror story, but the readings don't lie." Sterling stared at him. "You aged well, little brother." Alex smiled faintly. "You didn't age at all. That's more suspicious." Kalari stepped forward, eyes wary. "Do they know you're here?" "I have plausible deniability," Alex replied. "And deniable plausibility." Sterling crossed his arms. "Tell me what you found." Alex's expression darkened. "The signal originated beyond Epsilon Netari, but that's not the problem. The energy signature is moving." "Toward us?" Kalari asked. Alex nodded. "Or towards something it remembers." Sterling exhaled slowly. "It's not just watching anymore. It's coming back." Alex handed over a data drive. "You're the only one who might understand what it wants. The Council won't authorize a response without a full report. But if we wait for permission, we'll be dead by the time they finish debating." Kalari glanced at Sterling. "If we go, we'll be hunted." "We already are," he said. "Might as well move forward." Alex stepped back. "Then go. I'll buy you what time I can." Sterling and Kalari boarded the shuttle. As the engines powered up and the hangar doors opened to stars beyond, Sterling looked at her and asked, "Still with me?" Kalari grinned. "Always." And the stars took them. The shuttle streaked through low orbit, breaking through Earth's gravity well with barely a tremor. Sterling watched the blue spheres shrink behind them as they transitioned into slip space. It still stunned him how effortlessly modern ships now traversed what had once been near impossible distances. He sat beside Kalari in the cockpit. Her paws danced across the console with ease, tail curled under the co-pilot's seat. She wore her custom flight harness, tight around her chest and waist, matte black with deep orange threading matching the glow along her cheek markings. "Coordinates set," she said, flicking a holographic panel aside. "Course locked to Epsilon Netari's outer shelf. Estimated arrival, 3 hours." Sterling leaned back. "Long enough for a drink and some regret." Kalari raised an eyebrow. "Already doubting our decision?" He looked sideways at her. "Not the part where you came." Her ears twitched, amused. "That sounded suggestive." He cracked a grin. "It was." She chuckled, letting her hand rest on his for a moment before turning serious again. "Do you really believe it's seeking you?" He nodded. "I don't think it sees time the way we do. When I touched it, or it touched me, it didn't just look forward. It looked backward. Through me. Maybe it's curious, or lonely, or maybe it's just unfinished." Kalari tilted her head. "Entities like that don't act without purpose. And you're not a vessel anymore. You're an anchor." Sterling's smile faded. "Then what happens if I break?" Her amber eyes lingered on him. "Then I rebuild you. Piece by piece." Their moment was cut short by a proximity alert. The shuttle's interface pulsed red. "What the hell?" Sterling leaned forward. Kalari brought up the forward sensor view. A ship hovered in their path, sleek, black, faceless. No transponder. No lights. But it pulsed with the same distorted energy Sterling remembered from the Solaris dawn, low frequency, cold, and hungry. Kalari's claws flexed over the throttle. "That's not a concordance vessel." "No," Sterling said grimly. "That's something else." The ship powered weapons. Sterling snapped on the harness. "They don't want us getting to Epsilon Netari." Kalari bared her fangs. "Then we'll go through them." The enemy ship opened fire without warning. Twin lances of dark energy streaked toward them, silent, deadly, pulsing like heartbeat echoes. Kalari yanked the control yoke hard, the shuttle banking into a sharp spiral. The blasts grazed their flank, slamming into the shield with enough force to send the entire vessel into a roll. "Shield's down to 63%, she shouted, fangs bared. "That was a warning shot." Sterling was already strapping into the weapons console. "You don't warn someone with something that heavy." That was a threat. The shuttle shook again, this time from a direct hit to the port stabilizer. Lights flickered. They're trying to disable, not destroy, Kalari hissed, tail lashing violently. They want us alive. Sterling locked onto the attacker. Then they're about to be disappointed. He fired back, plasma bolts and counterpulse rounds arced into space, catching the enemy ship mid-pivot. The opposing craft jolted, but the armor absorbed most of the blast. They've got shielding tuned to refract human pulse weaponry, Sterling muttered. Kalari's eyes narrowed. Then we fight Azuran style. She disengaged the primary engine, allowing the shuttle to drift. In one swift movement, she flipped the inertia vector and powered the rear thrusters in reverse, bringing their ship nose to nose with their pursuer. Sterling blinked. Wait, are we? Kalari smirked. Ramming? No. Boarding. She launched an Azuran proximity spike. A harpoon-like electromagnetic lance that struck the enemy hull with a clank and tethered them. Both ships jolted as the magnetic clamp engaged. An automated docking corridor began deploying. Sterling turned to her. This feels stupid. She bared her fangs. It is. But it'll work. He grabbed his rifle and checked the charge. Let's say hello, then. As the docking corridor sealed with a hiss, the shuttle's interior dimmed. Kalari pulled her mask over her lower face, Azuran combat gear designed for breathing in toxic or psychically contaminated atmospheres. Her fur bristled under the armor's plates. Sterling looked at her, heart pounding. Ready? He asked. Her eyes glowed like embers. I was born ready. The airlock hissed. They stepped into the dark. The corridor between the two ships was silent save for the soft clunk of their boots on the magnetized floor. The enemy vessel's outer hull loomed ahead. Seamless, black, and unnaturally smooth, as though it had been grown rather than constructed. Sterling whispered, This doesn't feel like a ship. Kalari's voice was tight through her mask. Because it isn't. Not entirely. The boarding lock completed with a hiss, and the hatch slid open. Darkness. No lights. No movement. No signs of life. Sterling raised his rifle. Its sensor array flickered in confusion. No heat signatures. No EM readings. Nothing. Kalari scanned the walls with her clawed fingertips. It's absorbing signals. Like a void sponge. Whatever this thing is, it's hiding. They stepped inside. The corridor beyond was unnervingly organic. Curved walls pulsed faintly, like breath through lungs too large and too still. In places, the surface shimmered with moisture. In others, alien symbols, identical to those from the Solaris dawn, glowed faintly beneath the membrane-like plating. Sterling reached out, hesitated. These markings. They're pulsing to my heartbeat. Kalari gripped his wrist. Don't touch them. This ship isn't dead, it's listening. They moved deeper, past closed doors with no seams, halls that bent subtly in ways that didn't align with the laws of geometry. As they turned a corner, a new sound reached them, soft clicking, like claws on steel. Kalari froze. Her fur bristled. The corridor ahead split open. A figure emerged, humanoid, tall, and possibly thin. Its skin was pale gray with no eyes, no mouth. Only ridges where features should be. It moved like liquid wrapped in muscle, head twitching as though sniffing vibrations. Sterling raised his weapon. Contact! What the hell is that? Kalari's voice was low, strained. It's not from our universe. The creature turned toward them, sensing something beyond sight. Then, with inhuman speed, it bolted straight at Sterling. He fired. Sterling's pulse rifle barked a sharp series of blue-white blasts, illuminating the hallway in violent strobe flashes. The creature absorbed the rounds. No blood, no scream, just momentum interrupted, its gray flesh tearing like fabric, then reknitting midair. It's not dying! He shouted, backpedaling. Kalari lunged forward, claws glowing with a bright orange pulse as she slashed upward, aiming for the creature's elongated neck. The blow connected, burnt fur met sizzling flesh, and this time, the thing staggered. Not from pain. From disorientation. It reacts to Azuran energy fields, she yelled. My claws cut across dimensional phasing. The creature screeched without a mouth, an awful, internal sound that reverberated through their chests. It swiped at Kalari with an arm that split into 3 jagged tendrils. She ducked, rolled beneath it, and drove both claws into the back of its knee joint. The creature dropped. Sterling didn't wait. He flipped his rifle's modulator to full overload and jammed the barrel into the center of its chest. Chew on this. He fired. The blast exploded point-blank, rupturing the creature's torso in a wave of dark ichor and energy that smelled like burnt circuitry and ozone. It collapsed, twitching, then disintegrated into ash and heat, leaving only faint residue that pulsed once, then vanished. Silence returned. Sterling exhaled hard. What the hell was that? Kalari stood, breathing fast. A construct. Not fully alive. Half in this reality, half out. It wasn't protecting the ship, it was monitoring it. Sterling glanced at the glowing symbols around them. So this vessel is the real threat. Kalari stepped closer to the nearest glyph. It's part of the entity. A fragment. It wants you back. Sterling's stomach turned. The walls around them began to shimmer. Then voices. Not loud. Not distinct. But present. Murmurs of languages he almost understood. Whispers from the void. Kalari's ears flattened. It's calling you. Sterling clenched his jaw. Then let's make sure it never speaks again. They ran deeper into the vessel, toward its core, toward the heart of something not meant to exist. The deeper they pushed, the more the ship defied logic. Sterling had stopped trying to interpret the angles. They bent inward and outward at once. The floor occasionally rippled beneath their feet, not like metal under strain, but like water pretending to be steel. The light came from nowhere. Shadows cast without sources. The air itself pulsed like lungs drawing breath. This place wasn't built, Kalari murmured as they rounded a final bend. It was grown. Cultivated. By the entity? Sterling asked. Or by something it left behind? They reached what had to be the core. A vast chamber opened before them, perfectly circular and lined with living conduits, veins of light flowing with slow, rhythmic pulses. In the center floated a sphere the size of a shuttle, suspended by gravity manipulators, or perhaps sheer will. Its surface was a mirror of the glyphs burned into the Solaris Dawn's hull. Sterling's pulse quickened. I've seen this before. Kalari's claws clicked softly as she approached it. It's a seed. A seed? A dimensional anchor. It's trying to open another rift. Here. Now. Sterling took a step forward, then staggered. His head flared with noise, an ocean of alien images crashing down like a wave. Cities made of bone, skies full of inverted stars, beings that existed only as concepts. Kalari caught him before he fell. It's communicating again. He nodded, jaw tight. Wants me to surrender. Join. Says we were never meant to remain apart. Kalari bared her teeth. That thing doesn't get to want. She ripped a panel open on her suit and pulled a glowing cylinder, an Azuran phase disruptor core. Sterling's eyes widened. That's a ship-class core. You bring that everywhere? Only on first dates, she said, striding toward the sphere. Sterling smirked, barely. Kalari slammed the disruptor into the deck, primed it, and looked at him. 10 seconds. We'll never make it back to the airlock. He nodded once. Then we go out our own way. Together, they activated the emergency phase beacon on Sterling's belt, a last resort teleport for bonded users, barely tested with cross-species compatibility. Kalari grabbed his hand. The sphere reacted. The walls screamed. The universe snapped. And they vanished in a burst of blue fire. Pain. Blinding, disorienting, full-body pain. Sterling hit something hard, metal, cold, unmoving, and rolled onto his side, coughing violently. His skin tingled as though static clung to his veins. Every breath burned like ozone. He blinked rapidly, fighting nausea, disoriented by the teleport's aftershock. Then warmth. A hand on his chest. Sterling. Kalari's voice, rasped but steady. You with me? His eyes focused. They were inside another ship. Smaller. Familiar. He groaned. Where the hell are we? Kalari's ears flicked. Alex's backup plan. He coded the beacon to bring us to a cloaked vessel in orbit over Epsilon Netari. Emergency medbay. Minimal crew. No tracking signal. Sterling sat up slowly, muscles screaming. That was the worst teleport jump I've ever had. Kalari helped him to his feet. It wasn't designed for two species. It almost ripped us in half. He gave her a weak smile. Thanks for holding me together. She leaned against him, her cheek brushing his. Always. An alert tone chimed. Kalari turned toward the console. Sterling followed. What now? She tapped a panel. A view of space appeared, looking down at the wreckage of the entity vessel, now torn open, venting debris across the void. It's gone, she said softly. The sphere detonated. That rift, it tried to form but couldn't stabilize. The seed was destroyed. Sterling stared. So we stopped it. For now. A faint ping interrupted the moment. Sterling looked at the comm screen. A priority message flashed, encoded and urgent. From Alex. Unknown energy readings detected. Multiple locations. Same pattern. It wasn't the only seed. Sterling's mouth went dry. Kalari's expression darkened. They planted more. He nodded slowly. And the entity, it was just reaching out. That ship we destroyed? A feeler. A scout. Kalari looked up at him, her voice firm. Then we find the others. Sterling clenched his fists. And we burn every single one. The stars outside shimmered with quiet menace, their silence no longer comforting. Whatever had begun wasn't finished. Not yet. 3 hours later, Sterling and Kalari stood in the ship's primary cabin, both clad in newly issued exploration suits. Sleek, reinforced, and tuned to withstand high radiation environments and minor rift exposure. Earth military gear had improved a lot since Sterling's time, but Kalari had already modified theirs with Azuran shielding. She pulled the last strap across her chest, the armor snug against the curves of her athletic frame. Her orange fur peeked through the gaps at her neck and wrists, her tail swishing slowly behind her. Sterling tightened his gloves. Still amazed you didn't blow us up with that phase core. She smirked, flashing sharp white fangs. Precision is an Azuran virtue. That and looking good while doing it. Sterling glanced sideways. Nailed both. The onboard AI, sleek, polite, and far less sardonic than Ro, chimed overhead. Coordinates locked. Source Sigma matches harmonic pattern of previously identified entity technology. Distance 4 light years. Planet designation Virex 5. Kalari folded her arms. That system's uncolonized. No concordance presence. No Earth claim. Sterling's expression hardened. Perfect hiding spot. He brought up a 3D projection of the planet. It shimmered with green and brown biomes, storm-churned oceans, and jagged ridgelines. Remote. Wild. Untouched. Scans show an artificial object buried beneath the surface. The AI added. Faint pulse signatures. Identical to the destroyed seed core. Kalari leaned in. Could be dormant. Or waiting. Sterling muttered. The ship's engines began charging. The hum of pre-jump power throbbed in the floor like a heartbeat. Sterling looked at Kalari. We don't have to do this, you know. We could report it. Let someone else. She raised a clawed finger and pressed it to his lips. If someone else finds it first, they'll wake it. We're not watchers, Sterling. We're the firewall. He took a slow breath and nodded. Then let's be fire. The stars ahead twisted as the jump initiated, light folding into itself, then bursting outward as the ship vanished into slip space. Behind them, Earth faded. Ahead, the hunt began. Virex 5 was every bit the wilderness the scans had promised. Endless canopies of blue-leafed jungle, obsidian cliffs carved by glacial winds, and deep chasms that hummed faintly with unnatural frequency. Sterling and Kalari moved through the dense underbrush, their visors sweeping the landscape. The signal grew stronger the farther they descended into the canyon. The glyphs, those same impossible, shifting symbols, had begun appearing on nearby stones, half erased by time. Kalari crouched near one, her paw tracing its edge. This one's older than the Solaris dawn. Decades, maybe centuries. Sterling glanced down the ravine. Which means the entity's seeds have been here longer than we thought. A tremor rumbled beneath them. Then the earth cracked. From the canyon floor, a spire erupted, sleek, metallic, and alive. Tendrils of dark energy coiled outward, forming a cocoon of shifting dimensions. The second seed had awakened. Sterling activated the phase disruptor on his back. This one doesn't get to finish what the last one started. Kalari joined him, claws flaring with azuran light. We go in together. Like always. As they approached, the seed opened, not violently, but with the slow reverence of a temple welcoming back its god. Inside was no control room, no machine. Just a mirror. A perfect, floating surface that shimmered with Sterling's reflection. Except his eyes in the image were black voids. He staggered. Kalari grabbed his hand. Don't listen. Don't look too long. But it spoke, without words. Straight into him. Come home. You are the conduit. The first. The gate. Sterling pulled his gaze away. You chose wrong. He slammed the disruptor into the seed's core. Kalari drove her claws and beside it. A pulse of energy surged outward. The seed screamed. And collapsed. Back aboard the ship, orbiting high over the smoking ruin of the Virex Canyon, Sterling sat on the edge of the bed, head in hands. Kalari stepped from the washroom, towel draped over her shoulders, fur damp and wild. You okay? She asked. I'm tired, he admitted. Not just physically. She sat beside him. It's not over. But you're still here. Still you. He looked at her, really looked, at her strength, her loyalty, the unwavering presence she'd become. You saved me. More than once. You saved yourself, she replied, resting her head on his shoulder. I just reminded you why. They sat together in silence, watching the stars. Sterling finally asked, How many more seeds do you think are out there? Kalari didn't answer immediately. Then, enough to keep us busy. He chuckled softly. Good. I was starting to enjoy this weird afterlife. She grinned, tail curling around his leg. Then let's make it count. The stars outside pulsed with the quiet rhythm of eternity. And in the vast dark between them, two figures, human and vulpine, carried the light forward. Together,